Okay, now I had a student kindly ask that if I had time, if I could please make a video showing the pieces of the heart, structure of the heart. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And what you have is your 4 chambers. Remember, the left ventricle will always be the largest. So you have left ventricle, right ventricle, left atrium, and the right atrium would be up here, but it got cut off in this particular heart specimen. Then you're going to have interventricular septum, atrial ventricular septum between the atria wall and the ventricle wall. This would be 360 degrees all the way around the heart, dividing the top chambers from the bottom, so it'd be pinned right there, atrioventricular septum. You also have papillary muscles of the ventricles attached to chordae tendineae, which are attached to the atrioventricular valves. Since this is the left atrioventricular valve, or bicuspid, or mitral valve. And these valves are made out of cusps. So the structures making a valve are cusps, connective tissue flaps. The name of this valve is the left AV valve. Now on the right side, you have the right atrioventricular valve, or tricuspid. Oh, here is the atrium. Okay, so there's the valve. Right atrium, right ventricle. Here's your little papillary muscles of the ventricle attached to the chordae tendineae. This is a cusp of this valve, and the valve's name is the tricuspid, or right atrioventricular valve. Okay. This pattern inside the ventricle wall is trabecula carne. The layers of the heart, you have epicardium, myocardium, endocardium. So if it's a pin pointing here and it says name structure, trabecula carne. Name structure, papillary muscle. Name membrane, endocardium. Alright, we also have some semilunar valves. And remember, the semilunar valves are named for which vessel they are in. So the left ventricle always leads into the aorta. Aortic, let's get this wall out of the way, semilunar valve. This is the cusp of it. Name structure, cusp. Name valve, aortic semilunar. Now, the pulmonary trunk is always the anteriormost vessel in the heart, and it's going to be like this, and that vessel will be cut and pinned open so that you can see it. Okay, now that is coming from the right ventricle, and you can see that it leads into the pulmonary trunk. Now, the cusps, the bottom of the pulmonary trunk coming from the ventricle, pulmonary semilunar valve cusps for the pulmonary trunk. Okay, and then we also had some auricles. This is the heart from the outside. So your atria would be on top, and you've got auricles. How do you tell if they're right and left? You look at them this way, left auricle. There's your little flappy guy. Right auricle. Okay, now on the heart model, we went through the numbers on these in class, but here's the presentation. You're going to have your pulmonary trunk leaving the right ventricle. You've got your aorta leaving the left ventricle. Parts of the aorta, ascending, transverse, descending. Branches off of the aorta. Brachiocephalic trunk, which would give rise to the right subclavian and right common carotid. Left common carotid, left subclavian. The branches off of the pulmonary trunk go to the lungs, so you have right pulmonary artery, even though it's blue, and left pulmonary artery, ligamentum arteriosum. Then you have the superior and the inferior vena cava. For the superior vena cava, the right and left brachiocephalic veins drain blood into the superior. Okay, and then you have your left and right, which run along the back of the heart and deliver into the left atrium. pulmonary veins, even though they have richly oxygenated blood, so it's just picked up at the lungs. Okay. Then we have our coronary circulation, starting with arteries. So we have the right coronary artery, and the only part of the left that you see is right there, left coronary artery. Marginal artery, anterior interventricular artery, marginal artery. On the back, you have your posterior interventricular artery. Now the veins. Anterior vein, small cardiac vein, great cardiac vein, posterior vein of the left ventricle, middle cardiac vein between the ventricles, and all of this blood runs into the coronary sinus, which delivers it back into the right atrium.